Hey, everybody, and welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're tackling a pretty magnificent subject.
Magnificent is an understatement. We're talking about Angkor Wat.
Right. And we've got a ton of sources.
Oh, yeah, we've got historical accounts, architectural studies, even some travel blogs.
And it's all going to help us uncover the real story of Angkor Wat.
It's a fascinating story.
How it was built, all the challenges they faced.
Successes, too, of course.
And, of course, what it means for Cambodia today.
It's such a crucial part of their cultural identity.
I got to tell you, in preparing for this deep dive, some things really jumped out at me.
Oh, I bet. When you first start digging into Angkor Wat.
It's incredible. For one, did you know this temple, this massive, sprawling complex,
It's huge.
it was originally built for a completely different religion.
Oh, yeah, that always blows people's minds.
And there's this legend that it was built, get this, overnight.
Oh, yeah, the myth of the divine builders.
So much to unpack. Where do we even begin?
Well, I think it's helpful to start with the basics.
Okay, so Angkor Wat, Temple City. Where exactly are we talking about?
So picture modern-day Cambodia.
Oh, okay.
You're this city called Siem Reap,
Siem Reap, okay.
and that's where you'll find Angkor Wat.
Okay, so not exactly in the middle of nowhere.
No, but step back in time 1,000 years, and you're in the heart of the Khmer Empire.
Ah, the Khmer Empire. That's a whole other deep dive.
Well, absolutely. Powerful, influential.
And Angkor Wat was a symbol of that.
Oh, without a doubt. A symbol of their might, their artistry, their cultural sophistication.
And the name itself, Angkor Wat, it literally means Temple City.
It does.
Yeah.
Which tells us right off the bat, this wasn't just some little temple tucked away in the jungle.
This was a city within a city.
We're talking over 400 acres.
Whoa, put that in perspective for me.
That's bigger than the Temple of Karnak in Egypt.
No kidding, that's massive.
It is, and it wasn't just size. Angkor Wat had this intricate layout, all these different structures, towers, courtyards, all connected.
It sounds like a city designed to impress.
Oh, it absolutely was.
Okay, now about that little detail.
Oh, you mean the whole different religion thing?
Yeah, because I was reading that Angkor Wat wasn't always a Buddhist temple.
It wasn't. Nope.
So spill the beans. What was it originally built for?
Okay, so Angkor Wat was first dedicated to the Hindu god Vishnu,
Vishnu,
built by a king, Suryavarman II.
Suryavarman II. Powerful guy.
Oh, incredibly ambitious. He really wanted to strengthen the Khmer Empire.
Through war, I'm guessing.
Well, he definitely wasn't afraid of a good battle,
Okay.
but he was also really savvy about diplomacy and trade.
Ah, so he knew there was more than one way to build an empire.
Exactly. And you see that reflected in Angkor Wat itself.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, if you look at the bas-reliefs, the carvings, you see scenes of trade, diplomatic processions.
Right alongside the battles and stuff.
Exactly. So it seems the Khmer people valued peaceful exchange just as much as military power.
Okay, so back to that religious shift.
Mm-hmm.
Hindu to Buddhist. How did that happen?
So by the late 12th century, things were changing.
Okay, what kind of changes?
Well, the Khmer capital shifted. There was a new king.
So new leadership, new ideas.
And this new king, Jayavarman VII, he embraced Buddhism.
So Angkor Wat gradually became a Buddhist temple.
Yeah, reflecting the shift in both power and belief.
So it wasn't like an overnight conversion.
No, more like a gradual evolution.
And what's really interesting is it wasn't a complete erasure of the past.
Right. You still see Hindu and Buddhist iconography coexisting.
The blending of tradition.
Exactly. A more nuanced understanding of how beliefs change over time.
I love that. History is rarely black and white.
Absolutely. It's full of shades of gray.
And speaking of shades of gray, what about that legend? The one that claims Angkor Wat was built overnight.
Ah, yes, the myth of the divine builders.
Is there any truth to it?
Well, it's a great story, but like most legends, it's not exactly accurate.
So no magical construction crew?
No, scholars estimate it took decades to build Angkor Wat.
Decades. Makes it even more impressive, if you ask me.
Oh, absolutely. Think about the planning, the manpower, the sheer skill involved.
Well, and that's what we're here to explore. So let's talk about how they actually did it. I mean, these sandstone blocks, they must have been enormous.
They were massive. They quarried them from the Kulin Hills about 25 miles away.
25 miles. How did they even move those things?
Canals, a network of canals.
Talk about a logistical nightmare.
Right. It was a huge undertaking, but they managed it.
And then once they gave the blocks to the site,
Then came the carving, the intricate bas-reliefs.
the scenes we talked about earlier, the battles, the processions.
Exactly. Visual narratives etched into the sandstone.
Okay, before we get too deep into the nitty-gritty of construction, I want to ask about the design itself.
The layout, the symbolism.
Yeah, because it's not just a bunch of random buildings, right?
Oh, no. Angkor Wat's design, it's deeply symbolic.
Lay it on me.
It's all based on Mount Meru.
Mount Meru.
It's this mythical mountain considered the center of the universe in both Hindu and Buddhist cosmology.
So they were trying to recreate the cosmos in stone.
Exactly. The central towers, they represent the peaks of Mount Meru.
And the moat, the walls.
They symbolize the mountain ranges in the cosmic ocean.
Wow, so you're not just walking into a temple, you're stepping into their whole universe.
You're getting it. That's exactly the idea.
Okay, now about those massive sandstone blocks, how do they even lift them into place?
Well, that's where the ingenuity of the Khmer builders really shines through.
Gosh, all ears.
They used a technique called corbelling.
Corbelling. That sounds vaguely familiar.
It's a way of stacking stones so that each layer protrudes a little bit beyond the one below it.
So it creates a kind of inward slope.
Exactly. And it allowed them to build these soaring towers without using any mortar or cement.
Just strategically placed stones. That's incredible.
It is a testament to their understanding of structural forces and balance.
And then on top of that, they had to carve those intricate bas-reliefs.
Right. Thousands of figures, scenes from mythology, everyday life.
It must have taken an army of skilled artisans.
It did. And remember, this was all done by hand. No power tools, no modern technology.
Just human skill, ingenuity, and a lot of hard work.
And a deep respect for their craft.
Well, it certainly paid off. Angkor Wat is still standing centuries later.
It is a testament to the brilliance of the Khmer civilization.
But I know it hasn't been easy. It's faced its share of challenges over the centuries.
Oh, absolutely. Earthquakes, invasions, the constant wear and tear of time.
And yet it survived.
Remarkably, it was never completely abandoned.
So it went through periods of decline, but never faded into obscurity.
Exactly. Even when the Khmer Empire declined, local people continued to visit and care for Angkor Wat.
I love that. It speaks to the enduring power of this place.
A powerful connection to their history and their spirituality.
And then, of course, there's the rediscovery by the Western world.
Ah, yes. Henri Mouhot in the 1840s.
What an incredible story. Stumbling upon this lost city in the jungle.
Mouhot was blown away. He said Angkor Wat was grander than anything left to us by Greece or Rome.
I can only imagine what that must have been like.
It must have been breathtaking.
And it sparked a wave of international interest.
Which brings its own set of challenges.
Right. More visitors, more potential for damage, the need for careful management.
It's a delicate balance between preserving this treasure and sharing it with the world.
Okay, before we jump into the modern era and the challenges of preservation.
Yeah, take a breath.
We've covered so much already.
Empires, religion, architecture, resilience.
And we're just getting started.
There's so much more to explore. And we can't forget about the people who actually live there.
Right, because this wasn't just a monument to kings and gods.
No, Angkor Wat was a living, breathing city.
So real people going about their daily lives inside those walls.
Imagine homes, workshops, markets.
A whole community thriving.
Exactly. People would have been attending ceremonies, trading, crafting.
And I bet those bas-reliefs, those carvings,
They offer clues about those daily lives.
because they're not just about myths and legends,
No, you see scenes of farmers, fishermen, dancers,
like snapshots of a lost world.
frozen in time. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm really picturing it.
Wow.
The sounds of the city, the marketplace, music.
And it was a complex society, too, with a social structure.
Right, not everyone lived like a king.
No, you would have had laborers, artisans, merchants,
All playing their part.
essential roles in making Angkor Wat function.
So a hierarchy of power and status, just like any society.
Exactly. And understanding that adds another layer to the story.
It wasn't just about the king's vision, it was about the collective effort of thousands.
Absolutely. And speaking of collective effort, we've talked about the engineering, but what about the people who actually built it?
Right, the human element.
We may not have their written accounts.
But there must be some clues.
Well, we can look at the archaeological evidence.
And compare it to other large-scale construction projects.
Exactly. It's likely they had teams of skilled artisans.
And laborers, maybe even conscripted workers.
Probably brought in from across the empire.
I could picture it, this massive coordinated effort, thousands of people working together.
Each with their specific role, quarrying the stone, carving the details.
At a high level of skill, too.
Oh, absolutely. These weren't just laborers. They were masters of their craft.
To think about the precision needed to fit those stones together.
Or to carve those incredibly detailed reliefs.
It's mind-blowing. And to think they did it all without modern tools.
Human ingenuity, skill, and determination.
and a deep respect for what they were creating.
That's a good point. They weren't just building a structure, they were creating a work of art.
Okay, I want to go back to that religious transition from
Yeah.
Hinduism to Buddhism.
Was it peaceful? Was there conflict?
Right, because it's a complex issue.
And the historical record isn't always clear.
But we know it wasn't an overnight change.
No, it was gradual, unfolded over decades, maybe even centuries.
So a blending, an evolution of beliefs.
Yeah, and this is where the idea of religious syncretism comes in.
Syncretism.
It's the blending of different religious traditions.
And you see that at Angkor Wat.
Oh, absolutely. Hindu deities alongside Buddhist figures, Hindu temples, adapted for Buddhist worship.
So the lines between religions weren't always so rigid,
No, they were more fluid, more dynamic.
which makes Angkor Wat even more fascinating.
A site where different beliefs and traditions come together.
Okay, we've talked about the challenges Angkor Wat has faced.
But let's not forget its successes.
What were some of the most remarkable achievements?
Architecturally, the scale and precision are astonishing.
To build something so vast and intricate without modern technology.
It speaks volumes about the Khmer civilization.
Their engineering, their organization, their devotion.
And the level of detail is incredible, from the overall design to the smallest carvings.
Clearly, they poured their hearts and souls into it.
And it stood the test of time. Angkor Wat's legacy is undeniable.
It survived centuries of upheaval, neglect, attempts to erase its history.
A testament to human creativity and the importance of cultural heritage.
You know, you said earlier that Angkor Wat wasn't just a monument, it was a living city.
And I think that's key to its survival.
It was the people who kept its memory alive.
The people who continued to visit and care for it, even during periods of decline.
So Angkor Wat's story isn't just about architectural resilience, it's about the human spirit.
It's a reminder that heritage isn't just about the past, it's about carrying that spirit into the future.
And now Angkor Wat is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Attracting visitors from all over the world.
But it's more than just a tourist destination.
Absolutely. It's a symbol of national pride for Cambodia.
A reminder of their history, their artistry, their resilience.
And it plays a vital role in their economy.
Tourism revenue, jobs.
It's a source of income and opportunity for many Cambodians.
So it's a balancing act, preserving a fragile site while also harnessing its economic potential.
Exactly, a delicate balance.
Okay, before we get into the specifics of preservation efforts,
Take a moment.
we've covered a lot of ground.
The history, the architecture, the symbolism.
The people who built it, lived in it, and ensured its survival.
It's an incredible story, and we're just scratching the surface.
I mean, it's amazing to think something built so long ago still has such a huge impact today.
It really does. For Cambodia, Angkor Wat is so much more than just a cool tourist attraction.
So let's talk about that. How does it actually benefit Cambodians today? Besides, being a beautiful place.
Well, for one thing, it's a massive economic driver.
Tourism, right.
Exactly. The revenue generated by Angkor Wat is a major boost for the Cambodian economy.
I can see that. People need places to stay, ways to get around.
Food, souvenirs.
Creates jobs, right?
Tons of jobs. Hotel staff, tour guides, restaurant workers.
Artisans selling their crafts.
So it's not just about the site itself, the benefits spread throughout the community.
Like a ripple effect.
Exactly. And for a lot of Cambodians, especially those living near Siem Reap, it's a source of stable income.
Those gotta be huge.
It helps them support their families, build a better future.
So it's not just about preserving the past, it's about improving lives in the present.
Absolutely. And beyond the economic impact, Angkor Wat is a powerful symbol for Cambodia.
National pride.
Absolutely. It represents their history, their artistry, their resilience as a culture.
Like a beacon to the world, showing what Cambodia is capable of.
Exactly. And that pride leads to a sense of responsibility, a desire to protect this treasure.
Well, and that brings us to the whole issue of preservation. How do you even begin to protect something so massive and so old?
It's a huge challenge, no doubt about it.
I bet.
It takes a lot of collaboration, the Cambodian government, UNESCO, international organizations.
All working together.
There are ongoing restoration projects, repairing damage from time, weather, even past conflicts.
I imagine that work is incredibly delicate.
Oh, it is. You can't just go in and slap on some new concrete.
You have to understand the original materials, the techniques.
The artistry. It's about respecting the history of the site.
So they use traditional methods.
They do, but they also incorporate modern technology where it makes sense.
A blend of old and new.
Finding the right balance is key.
And then you've got the whole tourism thing.
Millions of visitors every year.
Great for the economy, but tough on the site.
Right, even with the best intentions, that many people can cause wear and tear.
So what can they do?
They're trying to control foot traffic, protect sensitive areas,
Educate visitors.
help people understand how to behave responsibly.
It's about finding that balance, access without destruction.
Exactly. And it's an ongoing process, constantly learning and adapting.
I bet. What are some of the biggest concerns?
Well, climate change is a huge factor.
Yeah, that's affecting everything these days.
The impact of tourism itself, even the potential for future conflicts.
It's a lot to think about.
It is, but it's so important. Angkor Wat is more than just a Cambodian treasure. It belongs to the world.
Well said. So as we wrap up our deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that Angkor Wat is a story of resilience.
Resilience.
Yeah, it's a story of empires rising and falling, of faith evolving, of human ingenuity and creativity pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
And it's still standing.
Centuries later, it's a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit and a reminder that we all have a role to play in protecting our shared heritage.
Beautifully said. You know, if you ever get the chance to visit Angkor Wat, take it. Walk among those ancient stones. Feel the weight of history. Let the carvings tell their stories.
It's an experience you won't forget.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep that spirit of discovery alive.
See you next time.